Hello, welcome to my terrarium class. My name is Noor and I'll be teaching you how to make a closed terrarium today. And this class will be applicable for family kits and also moss kits in this jar and also moss plus tropical plant. If you have this one, it's for you. And if you don't have this one, if you have only moss, it is also for you. And basically, if you have this jar, this class is for you. Okay, so what is terrarium? Let's talk about terrarium today. First, terrarium etymologically means a miniature earth. It's a closed ecosystem, as earth is closed. Terra means earth, terrarium is closed ecosystem. As you can think of aquarium, aqua water, aquarium is a closed water system, water ecosystem. Also solarium, or also planetarium, also exploratorium, auditorium. You can think of so many more words. And let's get started. We're gonna make closed miniature earth model today. And then I'm gonna be using this jar. Maybe you have the bigger version of this one. This is mid size and this is small size, and we have one more size, but I'll be making it with medium version. And first of all, I laid out my kit content on my table, and you can do it. Also, you can use this green cloth as a workstation. Let's get started. The first step is adding our pebbles. So I'm gonna be adding our pebbles. These pebbles are too much for our jar, so that's why I prefer to choose some of them as a decoration at the end. That's why I'm gonna add half of it in my jar. Okay, you don't need too much. You just need only one finger high, and you don't need to cover fully at the bottom. And this was my first step. The second, actually, let me explain why it's here. So pebbles are here for drainage. So they're gonna collect excess water in our ecosystem. So the second step is our burlap layer. So this will separate soil from pebbles. It's because to protect drainage layer. And then this is pretty mold resistant. And I'm gonna tell you a story while we're cutting it. And let's get a marker if you can. I have my marker here. And I'm gonna put my jar on top of my burlap, and I'm gonna draw the line around it to easily cut it. And if you order the family one, you can cut all three of them, and then you can draw them. The burlap should be enough. But if you are doing only one, it's easier. So I'm gonna just draw the line around it with my marker. And then as you can see, I have my circle here. And then you have a scissor that you can use it to cut it, of course. And the story part. One day I was given in-person terrarium workshop in California, and I had 10 people who were coming, and I realized I forgot burlap, and I decided to use, I was in a public park by the way, I decided to use dried leaves. It was a fall season, and then I was so happy that I thought it was very smart. But then 1 week later my terrarium died. And I'm guessing all other 10 terrariums died as well. It's because my terrarium got moldy. So whatever we put inside has to be mold resistant. So that's why you have to be careful. What you're putting inside, is it sterile? Is it clean? Is it mold resistant? You can use different materials as well. It could be metal mesh as well. Or you can think creative ideas. So I cut my burlap and I'm gonna put it inside. Then you can get help from your tools to place it on top of it. And we completed our first step. Burlap, pebbles and burlap. This was our first steps before we prepare our terrarium mix. Now we will prepare our terrarium mix. And then I will put my jar on the side. Then I'll take my mixing cup. So my mixing cup, we're gonna mix everything inside of this mix cup. Unless if you ordered family one, maybe you will need a bigger mixing cup. You can use anything that you can find at home. And for me, for this jar, single jar, it could be large or medium, I'm gonna use half of my mix. Even less than half will be enough for this one. And if you're using family, you can use all of it, all the materials. So for me, little less than half goes inside, because we have more materials than normal for this jar specifically. And then at the end, I will fill 1/3 of my jar. And same thing for this one too. If you're making a small one, maybe you need a little bit of it. And it's because we need space for a gas cycle as well. I add a little bit of soil from my soil. It could be half, it could be less than half, depends on which jar you're making it for. And the second step is peat moss. So peat moss, mine is in this Ziploc, but yours should be labeled. And if you're making one, you can put half of it. But if you're making for 3 jars, family, you can add all of it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of it. And then you can separate the peat moss. The peat moss is a very interesting substrate. It can hold up to 20 times water than its dry weight. And it'll help us to keep the mixture moist all the time. So we want to keep the water inside of our mixture. And then the third step is sphagnum moss. Sphagnum moss, I will get 1 bunch, but if you're making family, as I said, you can use all of it. And I'm gonna trim it into smaller pieces. It can be very small, it can be little small, doesn't matter. The purpose of trimming it is to mix them well. So the purpose of this one is also very similar to peat moss. This can hold water inside of the mix, so our mix doesn't dry up. Also, this will give a little bit of fluffiness in our mixture. This is also good for getting like breathing inside. Okay, perfect. Then the last step of our mix is very important. As we know, the vital element of life is gas cycle. So we have to constantly breathe oxygen to stay alive. And plants are helping us on this vital journey. We give them oxygen and they give us back, no, the opposite. We give them carbon dioxide and they give us back oxygen. And this is very important. It is called photosynthesis. Plants make photosynthesis to convert the gas, which is carbon dioxide to oxygen. It is very important. Then how we do it inside of our closed ecosystem. If you think about it, it's closed and only plants inside, no human, no animals, no insects. We have to add something to generate carbon dioxide for plants to set up the cycle, which is our activated carbon. So this generates carbon dioxide, plus you can find this carbon inside coffee machines or inside aquariums. The reason behind is filtering the water. If you have an aquarium at home, you can check your filter. It has activated carbon inside, most probably, most likely. Then I'm gonna cut it from the side. I cut it before, so you'll cut this one. I'm not gonna use all of it. I'm gonna go and sprinkle 2 times back and forth. If you're the family, you can do 6, but that's it. We don't have many plants, that's why we don't require much. And the last step is watering. Normally, I used to water after I completed terrarium, but then I realized if I add water in the mixture, I can control the soil level better, because overwatering is the killer of terrarium. So we need to be careful with water. So I have this bottle. Yours probably is half size of this one. So be careful while adding. I'm gonna keep adding, and then I'm gonna keep mixing it. We shouldn't make it muddy. We should make it wet but not muddy. You can think of brownie mix. So I'm gonna add a little bit, and I'm gonna mix it. If I'm not happy, so I'm gonna keep adding it. So you can use your tools to mix it, or you can use your hand as well. So the color should change to a little bit darker than brown. Instead of light brown, it should be a little bit darker brown. And I'm gonna add a little bit more. Less, like underwatering is better than overwatering. So that's why if you are not sure, just water less. Then you can always add water after you're done. I think I'm good. It doesn't look dry, and it kind of sticks to my tool too. It gives me the signal. Then I will add my mixture inside of my jar. But until when? Where? So it should be filled 1/3 of the jar itself, 1/3, including pebbles. So I'm gonna add it inside like this. Be careful with the glass wall. You can work cleanly, or you can clean after you add the dirt or the mix with paper towel. Okay, ready. You don't have to stack the soil too much, but you can push a little bit. Okay. I think it'll be just enough. Okay, perfect. So I added this much in my mid-sized jar, so you can adjust to your jar. It can be 1/3 of your jar. It can be a little over or a little under, doesn't matter. The only important thing is if you're adding a plant, it has to hold inside. So you can clean it, as I said, at this point. And one tip for you. So this is a flat surface, and if you want to do some landscaping, I can move the soil wherever I want. I can make a hill, I can make a mountain, I can make a canyon, I can make a crater by just moving the soil. So if I move it to the back, as you can see, I created kind of a hill. Or if I move in both sides, I can create kind of a canyon. It depends what kind of design you want to do it, but think about if you have only moss, think about how you want to place the moss. If you are making a canyon, you can put moss on both sides, and you can put pebbles in the middle, or wherever, whatever material you want to put as a decoration. And think about if you have a tropical plant as well. but as I said, you can do it only moss too. Most of my terrariums are only moss. If you have a tropical plant, you can keep it straight, or you can make it like a small hill, which I will do this design. And I make a little hill, and I'm gonna plant my plant in the front, then cover the moss around it. So I'll see you in a second on the plant section. Okay, welcome back. So if you have only moss, you can skip this part. But if you have a tropical plant, you have to listen to this part, which I will use with this plant. And you will probably receive it in a plastic pots that you have to take the plant out. How you can do it? Very gentle. I just go and upside down, and then you can squeeze the plastic piece, and you can take the plant outside. And then we have to take off the extra soil. And also there's very important information here. They can have some fruit flies eggs inside. To prevent this, I like to give them a shower from top to bottom. But before, to save our sinks, I like to take excess soil around the roots. So that's why I divide it before this one, so you can ignore this part. Okay, so you just squeeze the roots to your plant, and then if there's a fabric wrap, you can take it off too gently, and then try to take off the soil by squeezing. It doesn't have to be all of it. Then we're gonna go under the sink, and we're gonna wash our plant from top to bottom here, like everywhere. Okay, everywhere. And then we're gonna take off most of the soil. It'll be sterile and clean to plant it inside of a closed ecosystem, because we don't know what is inside. And to sterile any plant, wherever you buy, I recommend washing them properly. It depends on the plant. But whatever you plant we sent you, I recommend washing it in this way. Just take off most of the soil and then wash it top to bottom, everywhere. Then we're gonna get here back to show you how to plant it. Let's shower the plants and come back. I am back. I washed my plant. Maybe you can see it's wet right now. And I'm gonna plant it inside. If your plant allows you to divide it, you can see some branches. Some plants are good for dividing if you want to divide them. For example, mine, yes, I can't even divide into two. If you don't know how to divide it, please, you can skip it. But if, for example, this was naturally divided, and then you can divide two branches if you are confident. And then I'm gonna hold from my roots, and I make sure that both of them gets the roots. So there were two branches, and I divided into two. Then you can cut if there's any dead branches. If you don't know, again, you can skip this part too. I don't recommend cutting for everybody, so you can skip it. They'll circulate inside of life cycle. So I'm gonna create a mini hole here. Wherever you want. So I'm gonna plant it inside. So you can drop it inside. But very important tip. Clean the tool all the time, because we don't wanna touch to our plant with dirty tools. And then I'm gonna push my plant inside of our mix, and then I'm gonna secure it inside. Carefully push it, Actually, I should have my wooden stick, which is easier to push it inside. Okay, I push it, and then I'm pushing the soil around the base of the plant, and then it looks like this. Then we will add our moss inside. Welcome back. So this phase I'll be teaching you how to add your moss inside. This is live moss, and if you skipped the plant part, welcome back. So I'm gonna open my moss bag, and you'll see this beautiful moss. Moss doesn't have roots, so that's why we can cut it. And I also recommend you to clean the moss if there is any dead pieces. It's a visual purposes, but if you don't mind the dirt on it, so you can skip the cleaning part. For example, I like to trim a little bit of this dirt part, and if you see very yellow or very light brown, you can keep them or you can trim them too, and that's okay. So I have this moss piece, and I can cut it and drop it inside and place it wherever I want. So I like to cover some part of my design on the hill, so I'm gonna just cut this one inside a smaller piece, which gives me more ability to move my moss around it. I don't recommend pulling it apart because it can get dirty. The bottom part is mostly dirty, and then when you divide it, the dirt goes everywhere. If you trim it, that's so much easier. And also, for example, I used this stick before, and either you clean it or you use the other side when you're moving the moss, because the dirt will go all over on the moss. So I can move it now wherever I want. The trick here is cutting into smaller pieces, and you don't have to cover everywhere. It's your choice to add wherever you want. And I'll get a little bit more moss like this. This is already small. I'm gonna drop it inside on the hill, and with the clean tool I'm gonna place on top of the soil, because I don't have to bury the moss. Moss gets the moisture from the environment. They just need to lay on a surface. And I'm gonna cut this beautiful piece of moss, and I'm gonna drop it inside too. And drop it inside and place it where you want. Clean tool is very important. I have a small piece here too. You don't have to fill everywhere. I just have extra moss I'm gonna adding inside. Okay, perfect. So my terrarium looks like this. And the last step, not last step, but one of the last steps is adding our decorations. You can find miniature figurines inside your kit, and also you can use the pebbles that you spared at the beginning. I'm gonna drop them and I'm gonna place them inside with my clean tool, and you can be creative. You don't have to follow my design. You can be doing any other creative ideas. And my idea is adding the plant in the middle and covering with moss, and then adding pebbles in the middle as a staircase or as a pathway. and obtain a little more. Or if you have any seashells, if you have any other figurines, if you have any resin, plastic, or metal decorations, you can add it inside. And I added my pebbles inside. And then I like to spray a few more on top of the moss. You can add maybe 10 sprays. Then it'll be good to seal now. But you can add the fairy lights inside of your terrarium. And then you'll be pulling this plastic piece here, and then you're gonna click this button, and then it's gonna turn on, and then you can place it inside and close it. And let me demonstrate it here. It'll look like this. Also, you can cut it into a smaller piece. I mean, one piece you can cut it. If you cut it, one piece will not work, but the other part will work. The one connected to the batteries will work. And then, as it is too big, I can cut it. I'm gonna cut it from here. Okay, perfect. So this part is gone, and then I'm gonna add it here into smaller piece. Be careful with the plant. Also, if your light doesn't turn on, you can open the battery pack. This is different. This could be a different fairy light, but it works in the same way. You can open the battery pack and remove the batteries and then put them back. Hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't work, reach out to us. We'll send you a new one. Okay, perfect. Then battery pack will stay outside. Or if you want to put it inside, you can wrap it inside plastic wrap. Then it'll be good to go. But then it'll die earlier because I like to turn it on evening times or nighttime. And if you keep turning on, it's gonna go about 48 hours. It's your choice. You can either change the batteries or you can remove it at the end, and then it's good to go. But one more step. So today is your terrarium's birthday. So you made it today. You can write a birthday on the cork. Also, you can give it a name. Then you can call it with a name and the birthday. You know when you made it. That's it. You made it. Congrats. Then you can close it. Instead of pushing it, you can hold it steady and left and right until it gets airtight. And then take care guide. You can open it once a week for a couple hours. And then if you see any dryness inside, you can spray water. But if you want to experiment and keep it closed until it dies, maybe it's not gonna die. We don't know. I have many terrariums very healthy for months, and some of them for a year. Not years, but for a year. Still going on, strong. You can experiment it, and if it lives over a year, reach out to me, and maybe I'll gift you another kit. So thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know what you have created. I would love to see them. Also, please share your thoughts with us in a review. I'll be super appreciated. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I'll see you in another class. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.